Okay, let's get started there, folks. Welcome back to another 2 p.m. PST YouTube stream. I'm your host, Strange Road Jim, and as you can see, we are getting ourselves back into Pega. Been kind of slacking off lately with the Pega videos, so apologies to anybody that's been, trying to, watch my videos and study, and you're hoping for the next video. Apologies for anybody that has been kind of personally waiting for that. Um, uh, Hopefully there hasn't been. I haven't received any kind of comments along those lines. So, but I'm still thankful that um, there's still those of you that are still coming back, still watching. Um, you know, uh, and as always, feel free to comment. If you have questions, feel free to ask them. Okay, so um, I will do my best to answer them myself, or hopefully, those that are in the Pega community can answer them as well. So this isn't necessarily a series that is only reliant on newcomers. I do welcome in, you know, uh, veterans, uh, lead programmer, lead developers, senior system techs, because they're the ones that may actually have the answers that I may ask and that you may ask as well. So don't be afraid to ask those questions because you're going to be uh, you know there might be points in this series that you might not fully understand, and that's perfectly reasonable. Okay. Um, you can't expect everybody to know everything about a new language or something like that. Maybe there might be something there that you're not fully understanding every little bit, like the challenge that we had yesterday. There were some points in the um, being shown that I didn't know what they were, what they referenced, and what they did. So um, maybe someone will come along and go to that challenge and go, oh yeah, well that is, that's this, and it, can help you do this. That'd be fantastic. Okay, because not only would you be helping out me, but you would be helping out anybody else that might have that exact same question. So, um, uh, oh, and this series is also kind of good um, for anybody that works for Pega as well, because they can answer questions as well if they would like. I welcome in you know anybody that can answer said questions because let's face it, um, I have some. Okay. Um, so, but let's get into this, shall we? We got a lot to do. Pega video uploads and some Terraria tonight. So, who am I? Well, currently, right at this moment in time, I'm an unemployed software developer who's currently working on getting his system architect certification. I mean, I got plenty of time right at this moment, right at this time. So, um, send out resumes and hope for some kind of communication back. You know, um, but um, you know, the most that you can do as a developer is try to continue working on any kind of development that you can. Okay. Any kind of certification that you can, build any kind of application you can, just to kind of keep your skills, up. You know. So if and when, well, let's not go with if. It's more like when you get, you know, the uh, a job offer, you'll be able to get into that job and, work with what they need you to work on, easily enough. Um, and obviously, no employer should expect, the best and the brightest, to just kind of walk into the street, off the street for them. Um, because every job has their own style to them. Okay. Um, you can't take one coding style from one business and expect it to be the exact same coding style that another business might use. Okay. They might have a difference in terms of um, um, naming conventions, for example, right? One company might want camel case, another company might not. Who's to say? Okay. So, there's always going to be an adjustment no matter where you go to. Okay. So, you know, so yeah. Um, but, I'm working towards the system architect certification personally. Um, I record these videos in the hopes that, um, I'm going to have questions as I'm going through the system architect mission. Um, and I hope that, they, someone provides answers. At least that's my hope. Um, so I welcome anybody that, is a veteran of Pega to go through my videos, find where my questions are, and maybe just go, hey, you can find it on this site, or, here's a good explanation or something, because, um, you know, um, there's going to be points where I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what this is, or I don't know what they're trying to talk about in Pega. So, and if I'm having a problem with it, then someone else might have the same problem down the line. Okay, so that's why I welcome comments, you know, or your own questions. You know, um, let's work together to try to, benefit everybody. Um, so, um, but you know, in the in a sense, because I'm also putting these videos up, the in hopes of getting some help myself. I'm helping out those of you that are watching, that are also going through the academy, trying to learn what you can. Maybe I'm providing some form of help in some way or another. Let me know if I am, because every single one of those comments is very um, uplifting. So I appreciate any of those comments that comes along. So thank you for being there. Now I want to stress though that I'm not an authorized training partner. Okay. I'm working for my system architect certification. Okay, so I am definitely not a training partner, nor should you consider this instructor-led training. Both of these should be individuals that knows the Pega environment, forwards and backwards, can answer all your questions, can provide you all the details that you're asking for, so on and so forth. Um, I had an authorized training partner when I was working at my last job. It didn't really work out very well. Majority of us were pretty much self-study. like halfway through, if not sooner than that. So, um, so that's, uh, you know, I'm not gonna say that he wasn't, totally unknowledgeable, but, um, yeah. Uh, let's just say that not everybody can be a teacher. So, um, but I'm not a training partner, so don't expect me to be one. Okay, I'm not an instructor, so don't expect me to be one there. Okay. Instructor-led training is someone directly from Pega that is, teaching you everything about, Pega so that you can get your certifications and whatever you're trying to study for. Okay. And, you know, this costs money to get the instructor-led training. I think last I checked, it was like around $5,000 or something like that for the training, and it's like 2 weeks or so. Okay, so it is a very focused, intensive course. Um, you're going to be dealing with a lot of information in a short amount of time. So, um, but here's the thing: ask as many questions as you can. Try to learn as much as you can. You know, get your money's worth out of it. Okay, because after that's done, then you better hope that you pass that certification. Okay. The one and only time that I took the certification, I missed the minimum requirement to be certified by like 6 questions. So, um, you know, but that was mainly due to one, I was basically forced into the certification when I wasn't ready. I knew I wasn't ready, but they wanted me to take it anyway. And two, the questions there, some of them were dealing with an earlier version, Pega 7 versus the Pega 8.6 is, what I was studying for. So um, it wasn't exactly ideal in that either. So, um, but still, I didn't make the cut. I didn't get enough on my certification to pass it. So this is going to be my second major attempt to try to get the certification so that I can put it on my resume and I can start confidently applying to jobs that are looking for system architects. Um, I don't feel comfortable doing it right now because mm, I doubt that any job would be willing to take me on and train me. So, um, the fact that the last job did it and put me on minimum wage through it was fantastic, but that's one out of how many? Um, I'm seeing that I I apply like to, 5+ jobs every week, easily. Um, you know, which is can be quite difficult in that, not everybody's putting out, job postings for entry levels every week. So, um, at least, from what I've seen anyway. Um, okay, but we move on. Okay, so let's go to the dashboard here, and I will let me explain a little bit more here. We are done with the business architect. Okay, if you're on this video series and you're coming into this video without looking at my previous videos, know that the business architect mission has been already completed. Okay. I'm not personally going to be covering any more of this. Um, I mean, unless I get some questions, but even then, probably not. I've covered the two missions. I've covered the two modules. So if you're working towards this business architect, then check out my playlist for all the previous the previous two missions and the two modules there. Okay. Um, because I go through them all. Okay. Um, Also, another note: these two modules here, they are referencing the Pega Express. Okay. But they don't cover a lot of it. Okay, so that's why I recommend the Pega Express delivery mission. Okay, because you want more information about the Pega Express, and these two modules don't really do it. Okay, there's going to be 13% coverage of the Pega Express delivery on the certification for the business architect. So you're going to need to be prepared for that. So, um, so if you're working towards your business architect certification, I would recommend doing the Pega Express delivery. But let's get into the system architect, shall we? We just finished off the challenge and one of the challenges yesterday, the manipulating application data. So we're going to go on to escalating late work, um, which apparently it's going to be a fairly quick one. Pass line, deadline, interval, and of course the module quiz right afterwards. So now they say that it's 5 minutes, but that's not always the case. I've seen some that are like an entire you know like 3 pages. It feels like, but this one looks to be fairly short with a I mean, there's hardly anything here to be honest. Hmm. Okay, well, they've already kind of covered goals and deadlines anyway, so this is going to be more of a like a review, if anything else. So, the past deadline interval defines when to take further action because the step or case is past the deadline. Okay. That you're restating the obvious there, but whatever. The interval measures the time that has passed since the deadline for still open assignment. Okay. The past deadline interval is configurable in Dev Studio only. Okay, um, so you can't reach it, in App Studio. So when you configure a service level agreement or SLA in App Studio, a service level agreement rule is created in Dev Studio. I mean, yeah, that's you're creating one for the application. The App Studio and Dev Studio are basically the same tool. You're not necessarily creating two separate service level agreements. You're creating one, and you're able to see it through the App Studio and through the Dev Studio. You're not actually creating a new one in Dev Studio either. So I don't know what this note is all about. You configure the past deadline interval on the service level agreement rule. Um, I don't really like the phrasing of this note. Um, it's sounding as though two SLAs are created. One SLA has been created for the App Studio, and a completely separate one has been created for Dev Studio, and that would be odd if you have two completely separate different rules for the App Studio and the Dev Studio. That doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm gonna take a screenshot of that um, because that's weird. maybe that's just me, you know, um, what I'm interpreting, but I mean, if you guys can see what I'm talking, if you guys can understand, my point, then I'm not going to be the only one, but we'll see. So let me go ahead and suggest an edit on that because that's a bit odd. Okay. Um, the note for configuring the SLA in App Studio, it sounds like a completely new SLA is generated within the Dev Studio. Um, as though you created a physical clone of the SLA that is different in the App Studio and Dev Studio. I get the impression from the note that if I make a change in the App Studio, it would have no effect on the Dev Studio, which I doubt is the case. Maybe a rewording of the note is in order. Um, because when you configure an SLA, it should be generated for both studios equally, right? You are still seeing the SLA through both. So why would you say that a SLA is created in Dev Studio? Maybe say say something like the SLA is viewable in Dev Studio configurable in Dev Studio as well. All right. Sorry about that. Wanted to kind of address that because it's like, wait, hold on. Unlike the goal and deadline intervals, which we covered previously, you can, well, previously as in, they were in the previous missions. So you can configure the past deadline interval to repeat a fixed number of times or until the user completes the assignment. You can continue to increase the assignment urgency and send an escalation action each time the past deadline elapses. So, um, so let's say you start the project, right? Your goal is actually, just a week. Like it was originally meant to be a really simple, um, it was originally thought to be just like a text box that, is just going to be conveying information or something like that. But it actually turns out to be a lot harder than initially thought, right? So it passes that week goal initially. Then you had maybe a deadline of 2 weeks. Like, hey, this has to be done by the 2 weeks or we're in trouble, right? So maybe after that, you said that, hey, every day after that deadline, we need to escalate this more and more and more because, we're past our deadline. We needed to have, you know, sent that to, um, maybe it needed to go public, like right then and there. Like maybe they had um, a new, um, maybe there was a new product that was being released or something along those lines, and they needed like a new field to make sure that everybody um, got like the right kind of product or something along those lines. Like maybe they needed to add a color or whatever, right? Um, who knows? It could be anything. Um, but the excuse me. Um, originally it was like, set to be released on Monday kind of a thing, but you weren't able to get the field out there, so they've had to kind of delay it and delay it and delay it. And now, they're probably getting pissed off at you for not, getting it done, right? But like I said, it might be something that, they weren't necessarily expecting. Um, so maybe it was a lot harder than just a simple, adding the um, of a field. Maybe it had to do with more, database, adding a new field to a database, um, changing, changing web controls or something along those lines. Like um, maybe accidentally clicking on a field automatically, advance the process through without filling out the information inside of it. Who knows? There might have been more going on there than previously, um, than what was previously known. You never know along those lines. Things could kind of change, or things could be, um, you're not quite sure what you might necessarily face, you know, when you have a project, or when you have um, when you have work coming your way and you need to get it done. So um, the BAs and the project owners, they might try to do the most that they can, but it's you, the programmers, that are going to be looking at it and going, well, technically we can't get this to work, you know. So um, if the lead architect didn't know that, then you're going to have some problems, right? So um, so yeah. Um, okay, let's move on. Consider a company's timesheet submission requirements. Employees must submit a timesheet within 2 business days of their work week's end, but no later than 3 business days. The company reminds employees to submit their timesheet after the deadline has passed at each past deadline interval. I mean, that's a good, that's obviously something that is very, time sensitive, you know. Um, so that makes sense. So urgency with the past deadline interval. The maximum urgency is 100. At an urgency value of 100, Pega platform ignores further urgency adjustments and continues other escalation actions. For example, if the deadline passes, Pega platform notifies the assigned user. If the assignment urgency is 100 at deadline, Pega platform ignores the urgency increment and still sends the notification. So, um, so that's one of the things that it's like, you don't necessarily want to be, I would, myself personally, I wouldn't necessarily go rushing towards getting to the 100 like immediately, right? Um, because there might be some other projects that might have more urgency than what you're currently working on, right? Um, so when you hit that 100 mark, there's nothing else that will make it in, the urgency there, at 100 is going to be the same as another project with an urgency of 100 as well. They're going to be the same urgency. So, so the one that's, the other project, might have more of an urgency overall, right? So wouldn't you want to have that urgency just a little bit higher? So, um, so in my mind, now again, this is me personally. I don't really know. I'm just making an outside observation. Okay, for those of you that are, lead managers, business architects out there in the field, let me know what you guys do with it when it comes to urgency. Because for me, I would figure that you'd want to kind of, increase the urgency slowly over time. Okay, you know, you don't want to get past deadlines hitting 100 for like multiple different projects. Obviously, you don't want to have that happen anyway, but you want to try to keep your projects, in a sense of like, hey, you know, um, you okay. Let me try to explain. Um, I wouldn't want to see like 5 different, um, project requirements hit that 100 mark. Okay. I'd want them to be like, hey, one hit them one, obviously you wouldn't want that to happen at all. Obviously, you wouldn't want to have like multiple past deadlines. That would be really bad, right? But Um, maybe you're coming down to that point where like you have to get it delivered and you're falling behind for some reason. Okay. Maybe one of your senior programmers got into an accident and is in a hospital. So all the work had to be shifted around. Okay. That that takes time away from from the workload, right? You lost a lot of work time on that because now um, they can't do the work. So now you're having to try to pick up the slack on that, and well, you know, that means a lot of the workload that that one senior programmer might be doing now falls on the other programmers. And, they might have been perfectly fine before, but now all that extra work that that senior is doing falls on everybody else. And they might not know everything that needs to be done. Okay? They might not be like fully comfortable with that. So now they're kind of struggling with what the senior would probably do fairly easily. Okay? And therefore, a lot of the projects might go beyond the deadline. Okay? Um, so I would figure, just myself, that you'd have it kind of like a staggered, like, hey, we definitely need this particular portion of the project done, no matter what. So that one, sure, if it hits 100, then everybody needs to kind of get on that and get it working and and processed and handled so you can bundle it up within the rule set, right? Um, and then you kind of have it staggered a little bit, like the next item would be like 90 in the urgency and 80 in the urgency and 70 in the urgency or something along those lines. Okay, have it staggered so you know which one should kind of be focused on next. Okay, having them all 100 defeats that purpose. You know, which of those um, projects that you're working on demands the most attention. You wouldn't really know with hundreds across the board, right? So that's just my thinking. Um, but I mean, again, I'm not an expert out there in the field. I'm not sure. Maybe people are perfectly fine with multiple hundreds out there. And again, I don't know. I would figure that that would be bad, but maybe the past deadline has other means of trying to escalate. Hard to say. So, all right. Um, so that's it for this particular topic. Um, so we need to check the knowledge. So the initial urgency on the case type is set to 10. Why? I don't know. They always like say, the default's to 10, I believe. So, and service an assignment service level agreement is configured with the following details. Goal, 12 hours and increase urgency by 20. Deadline, 24 hours and increase urgency by 30. And then send an email notification to the assignee. Past deadline, 6 hours, increase urgency by 40. Send an email notification to assignee and manager and limit events to 3. Which 3 statements are true 37 hours after the case reaches the assignment? So, um, okay, so pretty much everything has been passed, right? 12 hours in and you hit the 20 mark. 24 hours in and you hit the 30 mark. 6 hours after the 24 hours, which would be 30 hours, you're hitting the urgency by 40. Okay, so already we're looking at the fact that the assignment urgency is already at 100. So um, it cannot be 140 there, folks. It cannot be. The cap is 100. It cannot go any higher than that. So this right here is the wrong answer. Don't select it. Um, okay, so we send an email notification to the signee. Okay, so that's one email notification, right? Then after the pass deadline, we send another email notification to the signee and an email notification to the manager. So um, so the manager has received one email notification and the assignee has received two email notifications. So, and that's it. That's all you need to do. So, and that's three. So, okay. Well, apparently that was wrong. So I guess with you have this at intervals of 6 hours. Um, Okay, you can send the escalation action each time the past deadline elapses. Okay, um, so because we're at 37 hours. Okay, we were at 24. We hit 30 hours. We send we send a notification to the assignee and manager, right? At 36 hours, which is another 6 hours after the 30, we send another notification to the assignee and manager. Okay, so assignment urgency is 100. Can't go any higher than that. Assignee has received 3 email notifications and the manager has received 2 email notifications. So, there you go. So yeah. Um, so here's your explanation on here. So, you know, good explanation of, what happens with the urgency numbers. So that's good. Again, I really feel like they really shouldn't be increasing the urgency by 40% here, or by 40, because um, you know, uh, I would have probably gone with something like 10. So like you hit the 60, right? And you're already past the deadline. When it hits 70, you're no like, hey, no, we're really having some problems. The fact that it hit 80 is like, whoa, wait a minute, hold on, we're really having some problems here, right? You know, the third one would be, 90 after that. That's what I'm saying. You're escalating it more and more, because you're not hitting that past deadline notification, intervals, right? You know, so that's why I personally think that you wouldn't want it to you wouldn't want to increase the urgency so rapidly, you know, to hit that 100 mark. Okay? That's just me personally. So, um, and then of course they explain, you know, the fact that you get um, the amount of notifications, at the separate intervals, which is good. So, all right, let's go move on to the module quiz there. See, everything is going okay. Yeah, okay. Just wanted to make sure that everything was lining up right. Okay, a customer service representative, CSR, must respond to emails within 24 hours. Otherwise, the assignment is considered late and the urgency increases by 20. For every additional 6 hours that the CSR does not respond, the CSR's manager is notified, and the urgency increases by 20. If the case reaches the assignment at 4 p.m. Tuesday and the assignment starts with the urgency of 10, what is the assignment urgency at 1 p.m. Thursday? Okay, so um, the case reaches the assignment at 4 p.m. Tuesday, right? So, um, and has an urgency of 10. Okay, 24 hours after the 4 p.m. Tuesday would be 4 p.m. Wednesday, right? Um, so that's when we kind of start, ticking up, from 4 p.m. Wednesday to the 1 p.m., right? So, um, uh, so 4 p.m. Wednesday, it is considered late, and the urgency is increased by 20. Okay, so at 4 p.m. Wednesday, it will be, 30, right? So now we have, um, so another 24 hours, which would be basically a set of four, um, because of the additional 6 hours, would put it at 4 p.m. Thursday, which we're not there yet. Okay, so technically, the assignment urgency at 1 p.m. Thursday would be up by a set of three. You know, 6 hours after 4 p.m. would be 10 p.m. Wednesday. Then it would be 4 a.m. Thursday. Then it would be 10 a.m. Um, 10 a.m. Thursday for the last urgency, right? So that's a total of three bump ups, right? So um, so technically you'd have 10 plus 20, that's 30, plus basically 60, right? 3 times 20 is 60, plus the 30 would be 90. So, all right. How does the past deadline interval differ from the goal and deadline intervals? Um, Golden deadline intervals do not repeat. Past deadline intervals do not have urgency values. That's incorrect. Past deadline intervals do not have escalation actions. That's incorrect. Goal deadline and past deadline intervals are configured in Dev Studio only. Incorrect. So, um, goal and deadline can be modified in App Studio. So yeah, it's that first one is the only one that can be correct. So, an assignment is configured with the service level agreement described in the following list. Past deadline intervals can repeat. So, initial urgency of 5, 12 hours, and the increased urgency by 10. So, um, okay, so, it's looking at 36 hours again. So, um, so you're past 24 hours. Okay, so already you have urgency of 5 plus 10. That's 15 plus another 15, that would be total of 30 at the 24-hour mark, right? At 28 hours, we increase by 20, so that would be 30 plus 20, that would be 50. And you limit the events to 5, okay? Um, 8 hours after 28, or 4 hours after 28 would be 32. So you increase by 20 again, so that would be 70, okay? And then you have another 4 hours, which is 32 to 36, which is where we're at, and you do another 20 after that, which would put it up to 90. Again. And that's it. Okay, so that's escalating late work there. We got a challenge tomorrow about that. Again, it's going to be fairly quick. So we may, if this challenge goes fairly well, we may be able to go into the module afterwards, but we'll see. Um, I might want to talk about that challenge a little bit more, um, because they might not want to like cover everything or talk about everything or whatever. Who knows? So we'll uh, we'll we'll see. We'll see what happens tomorrow about that. But that's where we're going to go ahead and end our um, Pega study session. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Feel free to um, you know uh, help me out with the YouTube algorithm if you're watching this on YouTube later. You're always welcome to come and join me on these streams that I do. Uh, further description, well, is in the description. So links are down there for Discord, Patreon, uh, Team Robot that you're welcome to join if you'd like. Um, it's volunteer based, obviously. Um, I have other things that might help and might, you know, um, help me directly if you want to do that, such as Throne, oh, and Patreon. um, so I mean that's available if anybody wants. Um, I don't put up too many videos on Patreon, but I will do. I'll try to do more if there is more of an interest there. But for right now, um, I add what I can. Um, you know, I the fact that I added an entire series on that on Patreon, for the Knights of the Old Republic, you know, so got too many copyright claims, so yeah, not much I can really do about that. Um, or I kept on getting copyright claim, copyright claim, copyright claim from the music of Star Wars on the game, even though technically I kept on getting copyright claims for. They kept on saying, "Hey, you're copying Star Wars: A New Hope," and it's like, I'm playing a game, guys. We're not actually using that exact soundtrack in this game, but whatever. Um, not much I can do about it. I keep on trying to, you know, sometimes I try to fight, but it doesn't always come through. So, uh, okay. Um, yeah. So that's about it on that end. Check out my other, check out the rest of the playlist if you're interested in the further topics, challenges, quizzes, and the like for Pega if that's what your main interest is. Um, if you have any interest in any of my other development, I had some development streams, not too long ago. Um, I have playlists for those. I also have playlists for just gameplay when I'm just um, needing to escape. So those are available for anybody that wants to watch those. I don't do any kind of editing other than like maybe putting two videos together. That's pretty much my editing for the most part. I do intend to try to get to a point where I can do editing maybe on a regular basis, but I really don't want to. So, uh, but yeah. Um, Hey there, Colors. How you doing? Welcome to the stream. How's your day been? Um, yeah, that's where we're gonna go ahead and call the Pega study session done. So, stay right there. I'm gonna be getting into some video uploads and just chatting in this next hour. So stay right there. But if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Hopefully, I catch you next time. Until then, take care, have a good night, and stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll catch you strangers next time.